Hey, Ron, I appreciate you making time for us. I have a two-part question about the salary cap. Um, I'm curious, over the last week, in what ways did your salary cap situation influence some of the decisions you made in terms of trading McCann and then leaving certain players unprotected? And then the second part to that is, now that you've cleared some space, do you envision making additional moves to create any more financial flexibility?
I think we set a price for Jared where we would move him if we got the right price, and Toronto met that price. So we moved ahead with that deal. And then, part of it was knowing that we'd probably lose another player and give us an opportunity to become cap compliant when we need to at the start of the season. So, very hard decisions to make, obviously, but in the end, we had tough decisions, and we had to do what we felt was best for the organization, short term and long term.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Seth?
Hello, Ron. Thank you for your time today. With Jared moving on as well as Brandon moving on, do you feel you have the candidates in-house right now to replace them among your bottom six, or is that something you might have to look at, or you will look at externally, whether it be trades or free agency or what have you?
Well, we're definitely going to look at it, but we also do feel, like you said, we have enough candidates from in-house that we feel like certainly we can fill a number of the spots, but we will look outside and see what we can find, whether through trades or free agency. So we're just trying to put the best possible team on the ice, and obviously, with salary cap constraints.
Taylor Haas?
Hey, Ron, how much did Malkin having surgery and his status impact the decisions you made when putting together the protected list and, protecting four centers? And is there any kind of update you can give yet on his rehab?
Gino's doing well. In terms of an impact, it definitely had an impact. We're still there's still some uncertainty with the beginning of the year. Therefore, when we looked at our center position, it's the position where we lacked the most depth up front. So we felt like it was important to protect that position, and therefore it had an impact on our list for sure. You look at a lot of things. You look at the player's age, you look at the contract, you look at the term of the contract, the AAV, the fit on your team, your depth in the organization. So there was a lot that went into our final decision there, but there's no question that Gino impacted our thought process for sure.
Rob Rossi?
I'm wondering, with regards to the cap space you did create, how much of that can go to, or how much of that was necessary to be able to just fill out the roster? And would you be opposed, if you were either with the cap space you have now or if you acquired more in a trade, would you be opposed to taking back some cap if it meant improving a hockey trade that you could make?
Well, we felt like we were somewhere, depending on who's on our team, and we got Teddy's number in, but we felt like we were 3 to 3.5 over the cap. So the two moves obviously allowed us to get where we felt comfortable that we can be under the cap. Prior to these moves, it was going to be difficult. In saying that, if we could move things around a little bit, manipulate some money, and become a better team, we'll look at it. I'm not real eager to retain salary, certainly if we don't have to, but it's such a hypothetical question. It's really hard to answer. If the right deal came along and we had to, then we probably would again if the rest of the deal made sense.
Dave Molinari?
Thank you for speaking with us, Ron. Do you have any firsthand knowledge of Philip Hollander, and how far away from being an NHL contender, for a spot on the Major League roster is he at this point in his career?
Yeah, I didn't have a ton of firsthand knowledge. I had a little bit, but obviously Patrick is here and our scouting staff. We felt very comfortable with the player. I think as important with the person. We had the background on Philip. He's 21 years old. He's not 18 or 19. He's somewhat of a seasoned player, so I would hope he comes into camp and pushes for a spot. But in the end, that's going to be up to Philip. There's a lot of, you come from Europe to the smaller ice to a new culture. There's a lot going on for young players, so sometimes they're not ready. But certainly, I would hope at some point this year, or certainly in training camp a year from now, certainly hope he's ready. But again, if Philip comes in September and knocks us out, we'll make decisions from there.
Dan Kingerski.
Hi, Ron. I'm curious, with the $6.4 or $6.5 million you cleared out this week, do you feel like you have enough money to visit the free agent market on the 28th, or do you foresee yourself having to move a little more around?
We can visit the free agent market, but I don't suspect there's going to be a top player there that we can fit under the cap. You never know what happens, I guess, between now and then, but we're going to do everything we can just to put the best team on the ice, whether it's internal or bringing a player or two in from the outside. Really hard to say what the market's going to be. And I suspect there will probably be players in August that aren't signed. So we'll just evaluate things on a day-to-day basis as we move along, and if a free agent makes sense, we'll move on it.
3 more. Wes Crosby.
Hey, Ron, thanks for doing this. The last time that we got to speak with you, I think you mentioned that potential extensions for Evgeni Malkin or Kris Letang might be just kind of ongoing discussions. Is that kind of where it still stands, or has there been any progress on that front?
No, we've kind of put it a little bit on the back burner. Once we get through the draft and free agency, we'll get more on it. But at this point, we've just more had general discussions or mentions of wanting to re-sign the players.
Albie Oxenrider.
Thanks, Evan. Thank you for your time, Ron. Can you give a general assessment of your view of the expansion draft? Are you happy with the rules and how it went, how it played out for not only your team, but the league? You think it was a healthy way of doing it?
I would have liked to had a couple more protection spots for us, but Seattle paid a lot of money, and I think they're gonna have a good team. I think the rules are fair. I think when you look way back in the San Jose and Ottawa days, they didn't get a lot of real good players. So I think the setup is better now to allow a team to come out and be competitive right off the bat. In saying that, obviously we lost a good player, and but that's the price of expansion, and we'll move on. And Seattle certainly got a good one in Tans.
Last question, Matt Fensel.
Hey, Ron, I wanted to ask you about Kris Pryor. What makes Kris a good scout and talent evaluator, and why was he, as you said, after hiring your number one priority after being named general manager?
You're going to build his ego up if he hears that, so please keep that quiet. Kris he's got a really good hockey mind, first and foremost, and second, his work ethic is unmatched. So again, when you come into a new situation and you're looking to beef up your staff, you know certain people, but his hockey mind, like I said, is terrific, and again, his work ethic is unmatched. So he's been really good for us. I enjoy working with him. I know Patrick enjoys working with him, and Erky as well. So he's been a real good add to the organization.